Okay, so we're calling this video books that I desperately want to reread, but really it could just be Chloe holds up her favourite books for 5 minutes, and it's obvious that these are going to be the ones that she wants to reread, but she needs a video idea and has a very short amount of time to actually film this. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel, thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be, as you may have just heard, books that I am wanting to reread at the minute. I'm just in a mood to reread a lot of my favourites, and I want to point out the ones that are kind of higher priority for me to do at the minute. I have got a couple of rereads on my TBR this month. I'm not going to particularly talk about those, but I will briefly mention them. I'm going to be rereading The Poppy War and A Dark Shade of Magic. A Dark Shade of Magic because that is a book that they are reading for Schwab-along at the minute, and it's one that I've been wanting to reread, so I thought I might as well reread it alongside some of my friends. I will link information about Schwab-along down below. It is a read-along that is hosted by Lisa, Jem and Tori, and they so far have read The Near Witch and The Archived and The Unbound, which annoyingly I did not read alongside them because I was slumping at the time, but it is like one of the only V Schwab books I haven't read, which is irritating that now I feel even more behind because all my friends have read it, but I will get to that one eventually. And The Poppy War is just because I love Babel so much this year. I read Yellowface this year as well, and I just want to go back to the series that I sort of fell in love with R.F. Kuang's writing when I was reading it. But yeah, the other books I'm going to talk about today are all favourites that you've definitely heard me talk about before, but like I said, I needed something to talk about in a video. I did have another plan for this weekend and I have not had the time to put it together, so I thought something quick and easy to talk to you guys about is just ones that I'm feeling like a bit of a pull towards rereading at the minute, and hopefully this list will sort of hold me accountable to actually have reread them by this time next year, but we will see. My reading plans don't always go exactly how I hope they will, but fingers crossed. So not too much else to ramble on about other than to say sorry if my voice starts going throughout this video. I woke up this morning and my voice is half gone. It seemed to come back for a little bit, but then I started listening to musicals and I started singing, so it's starting to go again. I can hear it going croaky, and if it like slowly disappears throughout this video, it's fine. That's another reason why it's a quick video today. But yeah, let's actually talk about the books. That is what you're here for. So the first book I want to reread, I've been wanting to reread for ages. I will say actually, I'm holding up one book, but I do need to read 3 more before I get to this one, because I would like to do a reread of the entire series, but this is the one that is making me want to do that reread, and it is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Six of Crows was actually the first book that I read in the Grishaverse. I did not start with the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I read it around about the time that Crooked Kingdom came out, and it was when everyone was sort of telling you, oh, you don't have to read Shadow and Bone if you don't want to, just read Six of Crows, it's better anyway. And you don't have to necessarily, but I would recommend reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy because it does obviously give you a lot of context and backstory. But Six of Crows is my favourite. Like, I love these characters with my whole heart, and as much as I don't want to go through the pain of Crooked Kingdom, by the way, is a fantastic book. I love it, but it's painful. But that's a theme with a lot of the books that I love anyway, so it's fine. But as much as I don't want to go through that pain, I do, because I just want to reread the series and be back with these characters. Watching the TV show when that came out, whenever that was that last year now? It's been a while. Where is the season 2 release date? That's what I want to know. They filmed it, give me a release date. But anyway, watching the TV series with the crows in it has just made me want to reread it more, and I don't know why I haven't put it on a TBR yet, other than probably because I'm feeling like I should be reading new books I'm getting, because like I buy so many books, I should definitely be reading them as well, so then I feel guilty when I want to reread them, which is kind of why I'm creating this list, because I want to give myself like a reason to reread. Not that you should need a reason, but like that's how my brain works. If I've made this list and said I'm going to reread them, then it will sort of make me go, oh well, you don't have to feel guilty about rereading it because you need to complete that list now. So that's what we're doing here. But yeah, I just love these characters so much, like all 6 of them. I can't give you a favourite. Like, all of the crows are my favourite. I love it, and I really, really want to reread it and be back in this world. I don't need to give you a synopsis on this one, I don't think. I can give you like a very vague one if you want to. It's a heist book. It's about these 6 characters who are a bit of an unlikely team who have to team up together to pull off this heist. and it's in a world where some people have powers. Not everyone likes that some people have powers. Yeah, there's so much to it, but I'm not going to give you an actual synopsis because I don't think I'll do it justice, but there we go. The next one I want to reread is another one where it was the first book I read by an author that I really, really like, and I would kind of like to go back and read their first book that I fell in love with and just remind myself why I love it so much, because it is also my favourite one by the author, and it is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Yes, this is now like a TikTok darling and everyone sort of heard about it, but I haven't actually read it since sort of that hype happened. Again, I sort of read this like a while ago, like not that long after it had first come out, and really, really loved it at the time. And I do think that the hype it got on TikTok is probably deserved, because all my memories of this book are very, very positive. But I would like to go back and reread it and just, you know, read it with like a different pair of eyes now. I still think it's going to be a 5-star read, considering that I've enjoyed everything else I've read from Taylor Jenkins Reid afterwards. But also it's like the old Hollywood vibes for me. I love that sort of setting, so I would love to reread this one, hopefully sometime soon. This is about a character called Evelyn Hugo, who is a old Hollywood movie star, and it starts off set sort of later on in her life, and she's doing an interview with this young reporter, and it's just basically giving like a biography of her life and the many loves that she's had in her life as well, because she has been married 7 times, hence the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And there is more to it than that, but I'm not gonna go too much into it. It was just a book that I very, very much enjoyed and would like to read again. Brief interruption there for a fairy loot delivery, but I think I'd finished talking about Evelyn Hugo, so we're gonna move on to the next one. And it is a book where I'm actually already rereading one by this author, as I mentioned earlier, because it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. This is possibly my favourite V. Schwab book. Like, I think it is, because like I said, I consider this to being like very high up on my favourite books of all time, but also like Vicious and Vengeful exist, and I love that series so much. I can't wait for the next one in that series, and I think that's possibly why I'm not saying it's my favourite yet, because the series hasn't concluded yet. I believe it's a trilogy. There's definitely one more, but I believe it's a trilogy. But this is a standalone. It's beautiful, it's perfect. I love everything about it. It's about a girl called Addie who makes a deal with a sort of devil-like character. She wants to be given more time because it's set sort of hundreds of years ago, and she doesn't want to fall into the sort of accepted way of doing things there, where she sort of gets married, has kids, and doesn't really get to do anything for herself, because as a woman in that era in particular, like, that is all your function was. And she maybe wants to live her own life a little bit as well. But and the deal that she makes is that she does get more time, but everyone that meets her is destined to forget her, and like forget her as soon as they stop seeing her. So you turn your back on her, you forget that she exists, you close the door, you forget that she exists. So she kind of goes through life and she influences a lot of other people's lives, but they never really know how much of an influence she has had. No one knows anything about her until one day somebody remembers her. And when we get to that character and that moment in particular, they are my favourite part of this book. That is why I love this book so much, and that is why I want to reread it. Hopefully saying that I'm going to reread it will mean that I actually will in the next year. And now we have one that's also by one of my favourite authors, where I have read 2 series by this author now, one of which I've read twice and one I've only read once. This is the series I've only read once. It is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. So I read Strange the Dreamer when it was like first coming out. I got it like a few months after it had been released, read it pretty much straight away, and then read Muse of Nightmares as it came out as well. Daughter of Smoke and Bone I owned for years and then just never read, and I finally ended up reading it for a read along, and then reread Strange the Dreamer after as well. And now I just want to reread this because I've only had that sort of first read experience with it, and I'd love to read it knowing what's going to happen, particularly with this one, because I am not going to give you too much of a synopsis of this series, because things happen that you sort of go, oh, okay, that's what's going on here. It happens with both of Laini Taylor's series. Like Strange the Dreamer is a very similar thing as well, where you're like, oh yeah, this is not what I expected, but it's great. And I very much enjoyed the reread of Strange the Dreamer knowing what was happening with it, so I think I will enjoy this one knowing where it is going as well. I think for all Laini Taylor books, like, knowing the most vague synopsis possible is the way to go into it. So for this one, the way I would describe it is it's a girl called LaRue. She lives in Prague, she lives in the human world, but she also exists slightly in this non-human world as well, where she works as an errand girl for someone called Brimstone. And the way that she gets to Brimstone and gets her errands is through going through these magical doors, and then one day all of the doors start closing and she starts to lose her connection to that world. And obviously the question is, why is that happening and how does she get back there? And then things go from there. And I will say very little else about this series, but it's so good and I really, really want to reread it, like I said, knowing more of where it's going to go, because I think that's going to be a very different reading experience. And then last but by no means least is a book that I've been wanting to reread for a while, but I also know that it is one that I have to be careful when I reread it because it's about mental health, and there is like a lot of depictions of like panic attacks and things in here, and I do not want to like potentially feel more panicked reading it. So I do have to be careful, but I think I am actually really in the mood to reread it soon. So maybe in the next couple of months, and that is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This is my favourite John Green book. I've talked on here many times before about how much I love John Green, and the fact that I've watched his videos for many years and sort of been part of the Nerdfighter community for many years as well, and I do really love his writing. I know that some of it is ridiculous. I can make fun of The Fault in Our Stars as good as anybody can, but I do still love it. Like, there's something about his writing that I just really, really love, and this one in particular is my favourite. I always say when you read the synopsis of this, it sounds like one book, and then when someone explains it to you, it's a very, very different one. The synopsis makes it sound like it's about this girl called Asa who's trying to find this missing billionaire, and it sounds like it's a bit of a sort of mystery fun novel. No, it's about a girl called Asa who has OCD and is very, very much battling with that throughout this book, and that is why, like I said, it can be quite difficult to read depending on sort of what mental state you are in, because there are some incidents in here where she really starts to have like obsessive thoughts about things, and the way that the sort of thought spirals are written about in here is so well done, and I love it so much, and I really, really want to reread it. I do also really like the audiobook for this as well, but also a very like difficult experience because if the writing is already like quite like claustrophobic, imagine it then being spoken at you. It's a lot. But I do really love it, and I do really, really want to reread it, and just talking about it now, even talking about like how difficult it is to read, is making me want to reread it. So I think that's everything. I hope you guys have enjoyed this random quick video. I will hopefully have something more elaborate for you next weekend, but it was fun just to kind of go through a few things that I'm just really in the mood to reread. So thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye.